Welcome to the agenda after a lacklustre performance against Port Adelaide on Saturday at the MCG. With me is Jay Clark from the Herald Sun. Jay, do we need to make some changes, particularly to our forward half?
Yeah, I think it's time, Chris. So Chris Mayne's the man who'd be weighing on Nathan Buckley's mind this week. Look, in that forward half, it's still very young. You know, Crocker just 13 games, Phillips 20 games, Broomhead 30, Moore 40, age 50. And that forward half's been a big problem all year, but it is an inexperienced forward half, Chris. So Chris Mayne, after 9 goals in the VFL the past 2 weeks, he's hit a bit of form. Now, he's not a prolific ball winner, but I think as another forward option, it's the time to bring him back in.
What about Mason Cox? He kicked 6 goals in the VFL. He's had 24 disposals and 15 marks. Does he get another opportunity?
At AFL level, Chris, I see him more as a ruckman. So if Brodie Grundy was out of the team, I think his first ruck changing forward.
He's kicked 6, Joe.
You know, I bet that's at VFL level, I think, where there's the dump kick and all that sort of stuff. I don't think he's necessarily got the speed, maturity at this point to make it as a key forward at this point. So I don't think Cox is the man. I think it's Chris Mayne. But it goes back to where is Collingwood at? Should they continue to be developing the young players, Chriso, or they assault still on a top 8 berth?
Well, we might get to that.
That's a tough one.
We might get to that a little bit later. But I want to talk about the ball movement because the scene was set in the opening quarter, 4-3 to 1 straight. We played on 31% of the time compared to Port Adelaide 52% of the time.
Slow, wasn't it?
It was stilted, and you talk about changes to the forward line. The way the ball came down, it wouldn't matter if Wayne Carey was playing in the forward half because it was so stilted with the ball movement. It was a departure, Jay, from what we've seen, particularly over the last 4 or 5 weeks, where there's been this run and gun type movement from half back and the ball's moved through the corridor and really quickly. And it was really stilted. Full credit to Port Adelaide. They bottled things up, they guarded the corridor and made it really, really difficult. But it was a departure from what we've been seeing, and I think that was the key problem. And the issue was that at quarter time, the scene was set. And when we look at the overall stats, 78 more disposals Collingwood had, but 11 less scoring shots, which gives you a bit of an indication that we weren't moving the ball forward and certainly weren't moving the ball forward quickly enough.
And that's where Wells and Varco are just so important with that more dynamic run through the middle of the ground. Hey, turning our attention to Hawthorn this week, they have been a bit of a bogey side for Collingwood in recent times, although the Magpies did win with that second half comeback earlier this round. Look, I think why Mayne can be so important this week is because as a forward line pressure player, he's someone who can really get in the face of the Hawks, really put them under pressure. We saw Hawthorn really reignite their season at the weekend with that magnificent win over Adelaide. And you see they've got that short kick game going again, and if you're not pressuring that short kicking game and are absolutely in their face from the start, especially in the forward half, then really it's going to be trouble. And Sean Burgoyne, like, this guy is just unbelievable. He's age 34. He's one of the biggest talking points at the moment. 334 games. He's actually putting together, Chriso, probably his 3rd best season for his time at Hawthorn. So while they were struggling, he is probably the man. I think a lot of talk will be about Tom Mitchell. He obviously had, 50 possessions.
Do we need to tag Tom Mitchell?
No, I don't think so. I'd be looking, I think, more towards Burgoyne and someone, Hodge, who can do the damage.
Maybe Mayne playing on Hodge would be a good move.
He'd be able to put that physical pressure, and I think that physicality, especially in the midfield, was missing against Port Adelaide. Powell, Pepper, Wines, Gray. This is one of the few games, Nathan Buckley said it, where Collingwood was bullied around the ball. There was a real physical edge.
I want to talk about the season.
Yeah, well,
let's just reassess.
We had this debate at the start of the year, and you were quite bullish that Collingwood would make finals. I was less certain. I was less certain. They have to win the next 3 to even it up at 8-8.
The last 3 games of the season are against Port Adelaide in Adelaide, Geelong, and Melbourne, who have got their act together. So unless, and you've talked about the importance of this week, but after Hawthorn, it's Essendon, Gold Coast away, and then West Coast in Melbourne.
So they're winnable.
They're winnable, absolutely. But those 4 games are absolutely critical to the season. Really need to get through those 4 games, win all 4. All of a sudden, it's 9 wins, 8 losses, and Collingwood puts itself in a position where, okay, the last 5 games, Adelaide North, maybe Adelaide's going to be a tough one, but the game is in Melbourne. North Melbourne's winnable. Then Port, Geelong, Melbourne, as I said. So must win this week against Hawthorn, as you've indicated. But the next 4 are absolutely critical.
Key question. Brown's played 3 games, I think. Crocker 13. Does Nathan Buckley stick with the kids, part of the big picture, or does he, as part of the must-win thing, go for some experience?
I think he's got to go for the must-win experience. I think now whether Brown or Mayne comes in, I mean that is dictated by form and form alone. I think that's the key element. We're not going to be giving players or giving games to players that don't deserve it. Yep. If you're playing well enough in the senior team, you keep your spot. If you're not, you're out. It's got to be as simple as that. Let's get to our Monday moments, and you speak of Callum Brown.
Yep.
Well, my Monday moments, there were two key involvements from young Callum, and I had the pleasure of playing with his old man. He was absolutely incredible, setting up a scoring shot here with a very, very clever underground handball. This is composure. Now he gets the ball here, assesses, and then is able to get the ball through, resulting eventually in a goal, which was outstanding work. And then, of course, the very, very special moment, Crocker kicking that, where he was able to kick his first AFL goal. And look at his commitment. In underneath, got the free kick. And Cooley went back and slotted. So well done to Callum Brown with his second game and his first goal.
That toughness and the footy IQ really stands out to me. I think he's a really clever forward line player. Will develop into a midfield. I think he must stay despite his inexperience.
Now, what about you? Now, you normally go for the spectacular Monday moment, just flair and just...
Well, let's roll the tape, Chris. So let's have a look at this. Brodie Grundy, look at him. Jeremy Howe has been the main talking point from a high-flying perspective this year, but Brodie Grundy's grab there was absolutely outstanding. Courageous running back with a flight. Absolutely polarises.
Is it better than Jeremy Howe's?
No, it's not. But look at poor Benny Reid here. Geez, he really cops it there, doesn't he? And Dunny in from the back. That was a great grab, Grundy, and that's why he's such a good ruckman, Chris, because he does get busy around the ground, and that's the whole focus for AFL big men at the moment, not just being a tap ruckman, but doing stuff around the ground, having impact, and that's what Brodie did.
Jay, we're out of time. It is an absolute must-win game this weekend against the Hawks, and then hopefully an opportunity perhaps to slip into the top 8. Hope you can join us next week on The Agenda.